let's look at example 15. It asks us to solve the cubic equation 3x squared times 2x plus 1 equals x minus 2. First, in order to use what we know to help solve this, we need to get this in the general form. So we need all our terms on one side and 0 on the other. So we also want to have everything broken up. So let's do that in this next step. So if we were to break up the left side, we would have 3x squared times 2x, which is going to make 6x cubed. We'd also have a positive 3x squared. And then we would want to move the positive x and the negative 2 over, so we'd end up with a negative x and a positive 2, and that would equal 0. So now we have this in a very general form. So what we're going to want to do now is examine our last term. This can be broken up into two factors, 1 and 2, or we can think of it as positive and negative. 1 and 2, it could possibly be those. So these are the numbers we're going to try to pull from in order to find one of our factors. So if we used 1, which I always recommend starting with 1, plugging this in up here, we would end up with 6 times 1 cubed, which would make 6, plus 3 times 1, which would make 3, minus 1 plus 2. So this is going to equal 10. So not a factor. So now let's try negative 1. See if that works. So if we plug this in, we're going to get 6 times negative 1 cubed, which is going to make negative 6. We're going to get 3 times negative 1 squared, which makes a positive 3. We're going to have minus a negative 1, which makes a positive 1, and then a positive 2. Now that should equal 0. So that's yes. Is a factor. So by plugging in negative 1, we get a remainder of 0, which means that our function, if we're looking at ax plus b, this creates an x plus 1, right? Because if we were to do the b over a for this term right here, that gives us a plus 1. So we're now going to divide out from our original equation what we have. So we had 6x cubed plus 3x squared minus x plus 2. So we just want to see what else is there. So when we go through here, first term here should be 6x squared. So this should give us 6x cubed plus 6x squared. When we subtract these, we should get negative 3x squared. Bring down this, we get negative x. Bring down this, we get a positive 2. So our next step, so we need to figure out, so x times negative 3x, that should multiply down. So we get negative 3x times x makes negative 3x squared. Negative 3x times 1 makes negative 3x. When we subtract these, we'll end up with 2x. And we bring down our positive 2. So now you should see that x times a positive 2 would give us this 2x. So we then multiply it down. We'll get 2x plus 2. And we have a remainder of 0, which we found that to be true. So we now know that each of these two parts is factors of our whole. So we know that we have x plus 1, and we have 6x squared minus 3x plus 2. We know that that equals 0. Because both of those are factors of the whole. So now we need to figure out, can we do anything with this? Well, we're going to have trouble factoring this because of this 6x here. So what we might want to see, and we might want to check just to make sure that there are solutions for this, is let's check to see if our discriminant actually would work here. So if we thought about our discriminant, so we've got A, B, and C. Remember, our discriminant, that equals b squared minus 4ac, and that tells us what our roots are going to look like. Well, if we plug this in, we would have negative 3 squared minus 4 times 6 times 2. Now, this is something to check, especially when this number here is positive. It always gives us the option where we might not have a positive discriminant, and what we see here is we should have 9 minus, this should make 24 times 2, which would make 48. So our discriminant here is negative 39. So this number being negative means that we don't have any real roots of this function at all. It is not real. So when we go about solving this equation, this part up here has no real roots. So it does not give us regular solutions to the equations. Now, we could go through and run the quadratic formula and find our imaginary roots, but we're going to go ahead and skip that. We're just going to say that those are not real. And so our only roots are going to come from this x plus 1, which means that the solutions to our equation means that this x plus 1 has to equal 0, so x would equal negative 1. So this is the only real solution to our equation. So when we go ahead and actually find any number that plugs into the original that makes 0, that's obviously going to be a solution. But that's going to lead us to create a factor, which helps us solve for the other parts. Now, in this particular situation, we don't end up with other solutions, but with other types of problems, we may encounter different solutions.